Welcome back to the Mini Hoops Podcast. On this episode, we're going to be talking a little quick draft stuff, a little draft previews, some trades that went down in the league, some trade thoughts, and some of our favorite prospects. But first, I want to say a quick congratulations to the Bucks for winning the finals. But I also want to give congratulations to the Suns that worked hard and pretty much proved everyone wrong this year. So my quick question leading into this Bucks thing, where do you guys think that Giannis ranks among the best power forwards of all time after his title and the Finals MVP?
I'm not entirely sure of the exact place I would put him on the list, but looking at guys like Dirk and KG, I'm not saying he's better than those guys, but I think he has entered that conversation. He's only been in the league for however many years now, and obviously Dirk and Kevin Garnett were in the league for like 20 years each. So it's hard to compare them career-wise. But in terms of accolades, I mean, Giannis is like a 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and now with a ring and a Finals MVP, I think he's fully entrenched himself in the conversation of being in that like 2 to 4 range behind Karl Malone probably and Tim Duncan. So I think he's there. So I guess I should say 3 to like 5 is anywhere in that portion of the list, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think he definitely has like the accolades you need to be considered one of the greatest, players at your position or whatever, greatest player of all time. But I think all he needs now is just to play like another, 8 seasons or something, put up pretty good numbers, and I think that will put him in as one of the best players at his position.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of go with the same thing, you guys. He's so young, plus he already has these accolades that pretty much like just puts him right behind those dudes like Dirk, KG, and Tim Duncan. I definitely think if he just keeps playing for like a couple years and keeps doing his playing at this insane level that he's doing, that he definitely could even be the best rank or best power forward of all time.
I agree. Absolutely. Shifting to recent news and rumors and off-season stuff, the Memphis Grizzlies and the New Orleans Pelicans made a trade which sent Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, number 10 overall, number 40 overall in this draft, and a 2022 first-round pick from the Lakers to Memphis, and Jonas Valanciunas, number 17, and number 50 in this draft to the Pelicans. In general, I think this is really beneficial for both sides. New Orleans clears up a lot of cap space, which is going to be super helpful for them when they try and either re-sign Lonzo or go after Kyle Lowry or, whatever other moves they decide to make. Memphis gets a center pass this year. Nobody knows if Valanciunas was going to stay or re-sign after this year. So they at least have Steven Adams for this year and next year. And Eric Bledsoe probably won't be on the team as they're looking to trade him. And they get a higher pick and another additional pick in 2022. So I think overall super beneficial for both sides.
I agree, but I also disagree, Gabe. I think that Memphis, I don't know if I would have made this trade. You're really downgrading on the center position when you're trading Valanciunas, who's so well-rounded and can shoot the ball when it comes to good play around basketball, because he was like the leading option at some points for the Grizzlies at some point in the last year. And then with Steven Adams, I've heard he's trying to work on his range, but when players do that, it's most likely not successful. And Steven Adams, he's an ugly ass jumper in the first place. But I mean, I can see it's beneficial to both sides where the Pelicans relieve so much cap space. Now they actually have the chance to match a contract for Lonzo Ball or go after Kyle Lowry. But I've also heard that they might not even let Lonzo Ball go because they maybe don't see him in his future their future plans. because it's just interesting to talk about when it comes to Lonzo Ball, in my opinion. If you're going to be paying him like 25 or almost like the max, basically 25 plus million, do you really pay Lonzo Ball that? Yes, he's a good defender, but is he reliable as a shooter?
Yeah. First of all, I agreed. Like, there's no doubt that Valanciunas is the best player involved in this trade, without question. I just think that the Grizzlies must have been hesitant, knowing that his contract is up after this year, and if he were to walk and they don't have anybody at the center position, they have Jaren Jackson, but he can't stay on the court. And is he really a five? I don't know. He's probably more of a four. And
He's definitely a four.
Yeah, and position only matters if you can stay on the court. So I think they just tried to get a guy like, I think Steven Adams and Valanciunas are pretty, I won't say pretty similar, but they're similar to some extent in their play style, kind of, just really big centers that can hold their own on defense, aren't spectacular offensively. Valanciunas is much, much better, don't get me wrong, but he's not like a, way, 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 way better and like a offensive star or anything. And I also think this signals that Memphis wants to do something else in the draft. I mean, they get 10 and they get 40 and another first round pick. I'd expect them to package any combination of those picks to move up or to acquire some other player, whether that be who's in this draft after the draft or some other player who's currently on a roster. So I agree that Valanciunas is swapping Adams for Valanciunas is definitely a downgrade for Memphis, but I think the combination of them wanting to make other moves and the fact that Valanciunas might not stay in Memphis after this year was the motivation behind this trade. In terms of Lonzo, I'm a big fan of Lonzo. He fits anywhere he goes. He shoots it at like 40%, or I don't know, it's like 37, 40%, something like that. He brings defense, he brings length, he can guard both guard positions. He can do it all. And I'd have no problem, frankly, paying him about 20 million. I think you start to get to like 23, 25, that gets to be too much. But yeah, I think like the 18 to 20 range, I would be happy with.
Yeah, I think a team's going to give him the max, and I just don't. If I'm the Pelicans, I don't match that. If the team gives him the max, but
yeah, I think their cap situation gets really difficult if they add that in there. But they at least have that option now that they cleared up. What was it? I think it was like 32 million this upcoming season between Adams and Bledsoe.
They at least had 25 million.
So now it's probably like 17 or so that they've freed up.
They at least had 25 million.
Right. Yeah, they have a lot of money, but Ingram's on the max for a while. Zion will be on the max in no time. So they and if you add Lonzo in there for another 3-4 years, that's a lot of money wrapped up there, and a team that's not very good. So it gets really complex there.
It's interesting, like the fact that when they acquired Steven Adams last year, I definitely thought there'd be a better defensive team, but really they were super underwhelming. Like Steven Adams is known to be a decent defender, but he really didn't really show it to me last year when he was on the Pelicans. But
yeah, having watched Steven Adams play a lot in Oklahoma City, I watched him as long as Russell Westbrook played with him, and he's always been underwhelming for me. He's not. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't score. He doesn't shoot. Obviously, he's just big. That's essentially all he is he's just big, and he takes up a lot of space. And he's a smart player. He's high IQ, so he's not necessarily a liability anywhere. He's unselfish, but he's just really not flashy. And he really, like I said, he doesn't block shots, so he's not really a rim protector. He's just big on defense. And that's not super valuable. I mean, it is to some extent, but you need some rim protection as well. And he just doesn't provide that from the center position.
Yeah, I really think Valanciunas is gonna have a bigger role on this Pelicans team, or just have a better fit with this Pelicans team because they need to space the floor more out with Zion clogging the paint pretty much. But I also the only reason I like for Memphis partially is that they can take the Eric Bledsoe in that 10th pick, or even maybe just ship off Bledsoe somewhere, get another asset, and then use the asset to move up into the draft. And I want them to target like a Moses Moody or something because I feel like that'd be fit their team perfectly. But yeah, it's just an interesting trade. I can't really say if I like it or not. Like I have to let it pan out for the rest of this year.
Yeah, I think something to watch too is New Orleans. This kind of signals that they're not cleaning house, but they're willing to part with many pieces. They gave up the first round pick. They gave up Adams, Bledsoe, second round pick this year, the first round pick. Obviously, they got back picks, but they're moving things around. So I wouldn't be surprised if they flip Valanciunas again and try and get either more draft capital or a younger player or something like that. So I'd be interested to see if he actually stays on the team. He would absolutely be an upgrade, like we've talked about, over Adams or whoever's been playing center. But they also have Jackson Hayes too, who's kind of just sitting there collecting dust.
Got in some legal trouble.
Yeah, I saw that today. But you wonder if he's on the floor after his legal stuff. Maybe if he's still able to play. Be interested to see if they play him some more.
Yeah. My last little tidbit of this on the New Orleans side is this was Zion's third year in the league, and also his third new coach he's had. It just, I don't know. They got to figure something out with the core with Zion, or he's maybe even wants out.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy situation. New Orleans was definitely probably my most disappointing team last year. I had not high expectations for them, but I certainly expected a lot more from them, and they really disappointed. And I think a lot of that had to do with Stan Van Gundy, but I guess that's another conversation for another day. But
well, moving on from that quick little rant that we both went on there, let's talk about the NBA draft. So there's been more talk that the Pistons potentially move number one. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're just using a smokescreen like we talked about in other podcasts. But it's told that there's been plenty of teams that really, really want Cade Cunningham, like the Rockets and the Thunder.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't really think this is legit. We hear this every year about teams potentially wanting to move the number one pick or potentially not being sold on number one guy like Anthony Edwards last year and Cade this year. I think they're just seeing if they can, somehow encourage a team to give them some crazy offer. So I don't expect them to move it.
Yeah, same. I think the Pistons' best move is definitely just to take Cade and then develop him, see what happens.
Yeah, another thing I'm not buying is they're saying that OKC offered 6 and Shea. I don't buy that for anything. I feel like it's just some random Detroit people trying to boost up better trade offers.
Yeah, I don't I don't really believe that either.
You don't trade Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the 6th pick for the 1st pick when Cade's not proven yet. But he has all that potential, but he's not proven yet, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of picks and trades, I saw a potential Cavs and Magic trade where Kevin Love would go to Orlando, along with the number 3 overall pick, and Gary Harris, number 5 and number 8, would go to Cleveland. Kind of not super exciting players. I'd feel really bad for Kevin Love to get sent to Orlando and just kind of ride out the rest of his horrible contract there. Maybe they'd buy him out. I don't know.
I bet they buy him out.
They try to flip him, yeah. But, the Cavs have been trying to trade him for years, literal years, and haven't been able to do anything. So I wonder if I kind of doubt the Magic would have any better luck, but who knows? But I just think this is interesting. Cleveland kind of goes all in, or not all in, but they move back and they accumulate more assets, and Orlando kind of goes all in on this draft and takes a guy like, I guess, Green or Mobley. So yeah, I think this is a super interesting idea. I don't know if it's real or realistic, but interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, yeah, like I said, moving Kevin Love, you have to attach a big asset to it, and getting that return of 5 and 8 with Gary Harris. Gary Harris is kind of that fill-in player, but 5 and 8 is a pretty good deal in my opinion, just to move down and to get rid of that Kevin Love contract. But yeah, transitioning from that, uh, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, they've been pretty much offered to every team, and pretty much every team said no. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I'm not a huge Kuzma supporter, but I do think he gets a little too much hate. Um, I mean, if you hate him as a person, I guess that's not my place. But like on the court, I don't think he's that bad of a player. I mean, he won a championship. It's not like he was, a top player on that team or anything, but I think he's a little bit overhated. Um, so yeah, that's where I stand on Kuz. I mean, I don't love him, but I definitely don't hate him as much as some other people do.
Uh, yeah, I think the Lakers. I mean, I think their best move is to definitely get rid of him. I don't know if like maybe he could find or unlock some sort of uh extra abilities on another team, maybe. But I feel like just right now his role in the Lakers is not. It's not what they're looking for right now. Same with I guess KCP is kind of what they need right now, but he's kind of on a big contract, so he's kind of taking up room, so I can understand why the Lakers are trying to move both of them. But if they do move them, I don't really see they're not going to get a lot in return. So it's kind of just they kind of have to dump them to get other players that are going to help them right now.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see like with tomorrow being the draft, if somehow they actually get a team to buy. But with those two, my opinion is they might have to throw on like that pick they have. I can't remember what pick they have. It's somewhere high, I feel like, but they're gonna have to attach that pick, that first round they have this year, to move those two or move one of them.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. We've heard rumors of like Kuzma and number 22 for number 13 and some other salary filler with the deal to the Pacers, which I think is kind of an interesting fit. Kuzma on the Pacers, I think Carlisle and their player development over there could definitely get the most out of Kuzma. Um, so yeah, I think he could be a good like two-way player for them, who's got
Mm-hmm.
potential and he's still relatively young. And I mean, his contract is, I mean, just in general, it's kind of big, not
It's
compared to
13 million for next year. Because the
right,
contract extension adds on.
right, yeah. So it's not a massive contract. It's not like a liability or anything, but it's significant. I guess any player who gets 13 million is making a good amount of money. So
Mm-hmm. It's not that bad of a contract. I mean, 13 million for a decent scorer, I'd say, and good bench player at least isn't too bad.
right, and if Indy moves on from Miles Turner or even Brogdon, too, there's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be room there for other players. So shifting to the Warriors, they are definitely the team that I'm keeping an eye on in the next like 48, 72 hours to just see what they do with the draft. We all know that they have 7 and 14, 2 picks in the lottery, and I don't expect them to keep both of them. Um,
Mm-mm.
Now's the time for them to double down and get players who can help them immediately. They might be able to do that at 7 and 14 with guys like Davion Mitchell or Chris Duarte, who are more experienced in like juniors, seniors in college and are experienced. But I just have to think that you have to make a deal to get somebody. It doesn't have to be a big one like Simmons or Beal or Dame, but it just makes so much sense to package it for immediate impact players.
Yeah, I for sure. I definitely think their best move is to get someone who's gonna contribute right away, like you said, and I don't think they need to draft two more rookies after Wiseman kind of underperformed last year. I guess he was hurt, so I couldn't really see what. But whatever. They need someone now.
Exactly. I think that throughout this whole draft, the Warriors are the most intriguing team to me. Having 7-14, I think that they're going to make a move tomorrow, or these next 48, 72 hours. I just expect them. Like it's the Warriors. They have to. They don't need two rookies to come in. They need an established player if they want to win a championship. My thing is, if they do not trade both these picks, I could see them moving up to even 4 if they package 7 and Wiseman to the Toronto Raptors. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's super possible. Wiseman underperformed for one reason or another. Like you said, Alex, he was
Did get
hurt. Yeah. So that's, not, it shouldn't necessarily be held against him, injury. But I think this year just proved that he is kind of a project, right? He's not a guy who's going to impact the game right now. He's not going to be a pillar of their team going forth in the next year or two. And they need someone who can be that. And so I think it makes sense to kind of see if you can find that by trading Wiseman and these picks that they have. So yeah, I think it'd probably be best to move on for them to contend for a title in the coming years, like the next year or two.
Well, going back to just we've been talking about the draft for a couple minutes now. We want to shift in some of our favorite players. Stein, I'm gonna start with you. What are your favorite players in this upcoming draft?
All right, yeah. So since the Wolves don't really have a pick this year, well, I guess we could trade up, but we don't officially have a pick right now. I just decided to pick a few of the players I liked in college, and I'm just gonna talk about why I like them, and I'm interested to see how they do next year. My first one is James Bouknight. He should go pretty high in the draft. He was a great scorer. He's somewhat inconsistent shooter, but that can probably be fixed. He's athletic and can make pretty crazy acrobatic layups. He had some weird, crazy and ones throughout the season. He's not really the best playmaker as a guard, but I don't know. I think he should be fine. I saw some comparisons to CJ McCollum, which I think is a pretty good comparison. And he's supposed to go in the top 10. I've been seeing OKC at 6 is one of the options, so that'd be I think that'd be a pretty good team, or he'd be a good teammate for Shea on the Thunder next year. Another one of my favorite players was Cam Thomas from LSU. He's really good at scoring. I think he was 3rd in the nation or something, with 23 or 24 points per game. But that's pretty much his only ability right now. He's not really good defensively, not really good at passing. But I do think he could take a really good 6-man role for maybe a playoff team or something in the late first round. I think he can kind of be like Lou Williams, where he just comes in, takes a bunch of shots, and he can score a ton of points doing that. Another one of my favorite players was Ayo Dosunmu from Illinois. He has great size for being a point guard or shooting guard. I think he's 6'5" or 6'6", which definitely helps him. He's really good in transition, both at finishing and also at finding his teammates. So he's not a super, or he's an unselfish player, I would say. He can be pretty aggressive on defense, which I think will translate pretty well to the league. He doesn't have the best jump shot right now. It's not very fluid. And he can struggle with turnovers, but I think both of these can be fixable in the NBA. I see him kind of similar to what regular season Reggie Jackson was. And Reggie Jackson kind of went off in the playoffs. He turned into prime Michael Jordan for some reason. But yeah, I think Ayo could be a similar to Reggie, just a solid point guard. But if he does develop his defense, I think he could turn into Drew Holiday, where he's like really aggressive and he makes plays on both sides of the ball. He's also going to go like in the late first or early second. And my last player I want to talk about is Nashawn Highland, nicknamed Bones, that's pretty cool right there. He's another great scorer and also one of the nation's top scorers. He shoots really well, both from spot up and off the dribble. He shot 40% from three in his 2 years in college, which is really good. He can also make plays for his teammates pretty well and should be a solid point guard off the bench for a team. I kind of see him as like Emmanuel Quickly or maybe Cameron Payne type of role, and should also be like late rounder or late first round or early second. Do you guys have any players you're looking at?
Your guys are all gas, no brakes.
Of
Great
course.
scorers, no defense, not great playmakers, some of them at least. I love it. I love it.
They're the best ones to watch in college.
Potential stars. They could be bust, but they could be all stars.
Oh, yes.
I like it. A couple years from now, we'll come back to this. For me, I went almost the exact opposite of you. I like Corey Kispert. Just kind of a steady shooter. He's like 22 years old, played at Gonzaga for a couple of years. Really solid. Not fantastic defensively, but he's like 6'7". Like I said, he can shoot. He's decently well-rounded. I know he said he's not a great defender, but he's got the size that can help him there. Davion Mitchell, speaking of size, that is something Davion Mitchell does not have. He's 6 foot 205, so I guess he's got some strength, but he is not very tall. But he is a skilled defender. He's a good defender, so maybe he can, I don't know, he can disrupt some things potentially with that. Another guy who's 22 years old. He's experienced. He's got national championship pedigree. I'll be excited to see where he goes. Finally, Chris Duarte. Again, another experienced guy who's older. He's 24, 6'6", good shooter. Can impact a team right away, I think. So yeah, you got the theme of scorers and high ceilings, and I kind of took the opposite side of the coin, with guys who kind of have low or high floors and can impact the team right away. I'll be excited to see where these guys go in the draft because they're certainly not projects, and they may not need a ton of time to develop. They could come in right away and contribute. So teams like Charlotte or Golden State or, Toronto potentially, not that any of these guys are going to go at number 4, but any of those teams who want guys that are going to contribute right away, I think could draft these guys, and I'm going to be excited to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, you guys have some great players there. I'm not going to go super in-depth on mine. I really like these two shooting guards. I like Moses Moody out of Arkansas and Trey Murphy III out of Virginia. With Moses Moody, he played with Cade in high school, so I kind of saw a glimpse of him, NBA talent there when Monteverde played. But he's got a nice jump shot, and he does really defend on a high level, proven in college. If he continues to play like he played in college, I think his game really could translate into the league. And then to touch on with Trey Murphy III, he's already a really good shooter. He's really tall for being a shooting guard. He's 6'9", and he has the length to be a really good 3-and-D player. And I'm just curious if these two guys are going to fall or rise in the draft just based on potential of being a good established 3-and-D player. Another player I want to touch on is Zaire Williams. I saw him play in high school with Bronny when he was on Cedar Canyon. I thought he had a lot of hype, and then he had a pretty good season at Stanford. I guess I feel like he could either rise or fall. Like there's rumors of him going to 8, like as high as 8 to Orlando, or even in this mock draft I'm looking at, even falling to 23rd to the Rockets. His upside is, it's there, but he could be a decent player in the league in my opinion. And then just because he's from Minnesota and he's a big man, and I like big men. That's what she said.
God damn.
Jericho Sims.
I'm not editing
Don't
that
edit
out.
that out. Don't edit that out. Jericho Sims, huge dude, good player at Texas. 6'10", can jump out of a gym, man. I saw this video clip of him getting his head over the rim. It was nuts. But yeah, I gotta go love to my Minnesota guys, and I just think that he could be a good, decent backup center in the league.
Yeah. After you mentioned Texas, I got to shout out Abilene Christian. Beat, Texas. You guys suck. Whatever.
True.
Build them
Shout
up,
out.
break them down. Brutal.
Nah, Texas is stupid. They're also withdrawing from the Big 12. It's fucking idiots.
Yeah, like those horns down regulations and rules they put in. Players
So
can't do that in college anymore.
It's so dumb.
It's wild.
Well, perfect, boys. Lots of fun on this episode. Good laughs. We'll see you in the next one.